1320 AM KSCR, Eugene, Springfield. We are 1320 AM Info Radio, your station for news, information, and entertainment. 1320 AM is Info Radio.
SRN. My name is Jacob Larson, and this is the Common Sense Show. I got some quick info for you guys. The Salvation Army needs volunteers to help assemble Christmas food boxes on Wednesday and Thursday, December 12th and the 13th. They'll also need help with distribution on Wednesday and Thursday, December 19th and the 20th, when the families come to pick them up. For more information and to volunteer, please call Olive or George Wild at 541-937-2644. Once again, that's Oliver George Wild at 541-937-2644 if you'd like to help the Salvation Army with their food boxes, Christmas food boxes. Last week, our special guest was a guy by the name of Seth Woolley. He was the Pacific Green candidate for Oregon that ran for Secretary of State position this last election. He lost, and after the interview, I figured out why. Not only is the Pacific Green Party poorly put together and poorly marketed, Seth came across simply apathetic and indifferent to his party, to his views, and to the 30,000 voters who entrusted their vote to him. 30,000 people in Lane County who trusted their vote to Seth in hopes that he would be the face, be the advocate of their views, were left with a loss from a candidate that lacked conviction and had no real passion in what he believed. Now, Seth Woolley's a very nice guy, and I did enjoy talking with the man. And I think that maybe, just maybe, considering I'm a janitor, and this is a small show, that Seth maybe didn't take his time on here seriously. And I can see that. I can see why he'd be so easy to dismiss it. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I don't speak right or proper or whatever. I fumble my words. I can't spell worth a damn. But I do like to cause a stir. I do like to get people talking, and I do draw attention to things. And for that reason, his dismissal of his time on here was a mistake, in my opinion. As he put it, I gave him easy questions, which is why, in my opinion, he should have owned me the entire time. But he didn't. Instead, he simply left myself and the listener still wondering, who is Seth Woolley? What makes him tick? And why did he even bother to run? And peeps, those are questions we may never know the answer to. I'd be surprised to see him run again. But if he does, I think he needs to reach to the core of who he is and develop a message that he's willing to take to the ends of the earth and back again, if need be. Only then will he have a shot. And that's just my 2 cents. Now, this is a lesson for all you people that like to cast your vote for a third party. You want to make a statement. You want to go against the status quo. You want to get your views, your interests, your message across. Then you need to take the time to check out these candidates. Because some of these third-party candidates just don't give a damn about you or your vote. It means nothing to them. Your vote isn't just a throwaway vote because it's a third-party vote. Some of these guys don't even consider the votes entrusted to them as sacred enough to really take the time to deliver a message, which means your vote is less than a throwaway vote. It's nothing. It means and counts nothing. A complete and utter waste of time. You getting that? And I mean that in the nicest way possible. Today we have a special guest, young lady by the name of Lita Sellers, a die-hard, lifelong Democrat. She's going to tell us the reasons behind why she thinks the way she thinks and puts her vote where her mouth is. So if you have any questions for Lita or myself during the show, please call in at 541-284-7953. Once again, that number, for everybody listening, the whole 3 people out there, that number is 541-284-7953. Now, don't burn up the phone lines, folks, trying to call in. Okay, take your time. Make an order there so everybody has their chance to talk. Lita's dying to talk right now. I can just see the look on her face. Give us a call. Tell us what you think. Lita Sellers, how are you?
I'm just fine, and I'm really glad to be here today, Jacob. First of all, I already have to set the record straight on that introduction. It is a misconception to believe I have been a lifelong Democrat. I have changed my affiliation, my party affiliation, several times over the years. I like to think of myself as a bipartisan voter. So, hello, everyone.
A bipartisan voter. Anybody who's ever seen your Facebook wall is not going to call you a bipartisan voter. You know that, right?
I know that, but I tell it as I see it, and I'm afraid that my side has the right and the might.
Well, don't be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of here. But okay, so you've changed your party affiliation. What were you before you were a Democrat? Were you a Green Pacific Greenland or?
No, and a lot of the reason I haven't been, I have embraced some of those views. However, because I don't like the idea of being a spoiler, I have tried to find the party that most represents my own particular views. And as I said earlier here, it can go either way. It's whoever represents me with the most views.
Okay, so were you a registered independent or non-affiliate?
No, I've been a registered Republican a good 2 or 3 times in my voting career since 1970.
So you were actually a registered Republican?
3 times I voted for Reagan and the first Bush.
Wow. See, I would have never expected that. That is totally off the wall and counter to what I expected. I don't know if you're welcome to be on the show anymore.
Well, you got me. If you kiss me, you have to keep me.
So is this so people looking at this or listening to this, would think that maybe you're confused. Maybe that's the problem.
I don't think it's a problem. I go to a lot of trouble to research my facts. I'm part of a political several groups, actually. I do a lot of my own research. I have folks that help me research. We even actually watch Fox News as long as we can stand it, but to try to make sure we're
as
telling
long as you
things
can stand it. Hold on a
accurately.
minute. You were a Republican.
Not when I.
Not when you watched Fox News.
Let me back up. I've never really been a fan of Fox News. I have been a Republican when I thought actually that there was a Republican Party to be proud of. That would be one way of putting it. I see no resemblance today with the Republican Party we have now as to what we had, say, in the 70s, even during Ronald Reagan's tenure in the 80s.
You were a Ronald Reagan Republican. And you voted for Reagan.
I did, but it was a mistake. Let me make that clear.
Now you. So what about the Republican Party appealed to you back then?
I think at that time I probably voted it as the lesser of the 2 evils, and I can't even quite remember who ran against him. If it was McGovern, I believe at that time I thought Reagan was a stronger candidate. Little did I know what ruination he would cause the beginning of the country.
Okay, but Lita, a stronger candidate. I'm a little confused here because I'm looking at it and I'm going. You say you do your own research, and you check things out. What about these candidates appealed to you? Because I mean, there's an ideology here that is on polar opposite ends of the spectrum here in regards to Republicans and Democrats and their philosophy in terms of how to run the country, how to run the economy. Moral issues, that type of thing. How do you make a jump from Republican to Democrat simply by the face or the name that either party puts up? I mean, the face or the name represents that ideology. So how do you do that?
Basically, I would say that in the days, if we're going to talk back in those days with the Republicans, and like I say, as I was an affiliated of the Republican Party, I had not been doing homework as I am now. So at that time, I guess I would have to say I was somewhat ignorant over the facts.
So you voted Republican
so
because you're ignorant.
That's
what you're
what
saying.
I'm trying
and that's
to
what
say.
3/4 of the people who vote Republican, they're just ignorant.
And I have to say that helps me because I didn't really want to come out and say that, but that's exactly right.
Well, I have something else I'd like to, I'm not quite sure I want to say here.
Say it.
Okay, you bounced from Republican to Democrat. You voted for different people in between. This sounds like typical female behavior who can't make up their mind. How do you like that?
Typical, okay, that
Typical
opens up,
female
okay, because
behavior
now that opens
who
up
can't
a whole other
who
can
can't
of
make up their
worms,
mind.
Because who defines typical female behavior?
Wait,
what does typical mean,
what are you
Jacob?
what are you concerned about here? I mean, I'm asking you to explain to me why you came from Republican to Democrat. Your only answer is that, well, you were ignorant back then. So what
Okay.
makes you assume that you're not ignorant now?
Because I have become more educated as to the facts, and frankly, I can see what is actually. I mean, I can look around and see
Did the
what
listeners
is
did
happening.
the listeners notice there how I dodged that bullet? How I got out of that that jab that I gave her?
I thought I was getting out of it as well, because I would love to change the topic to women's supposed rights, which upsets me to no end. Because
Women's supposed rights. Okay,
Yes.
you want to change the topic? We can change the topic. Because obviously you can't figure out why you made the decision, why you did that. So we'll let that one go. You know, next week she could be for Pacific Green. Seth Woolley, you may have a candidate next year. You don't know with Lita. She may bounce over to Pacific Green soon.
Not really. Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Okay, so I told you this was going to be fun. I was going to jam you. You can't get. She's giving me evil eye looks, folks. Just for the record.
You have to see his face here. It's unbelievable.
What?
I'm waiting to hear. To have him take me on about women. I really
Okay, you
want to
talk about women? Let's talk about women.
women's
There's my favorite
rights.
subject. I like talking about women.
I never hear the word
They cook
men's
food and they-
rights. What is this women's rights? Why do women have to even think about having rights? Jacob?
I don't know. I think they've got all the rights in the world. The world revolves around women. They're in control of it all.
They you know, I
So
actually,
why they would stand there and say they need rights is beyond me. It's illogical.
my guess would be that that's very accurate. And if women
I know
through
it's accurate.
manipulation would act in that manner, they probably could control it all.
Whoa,
But women
say that
are
again. Through
strict-
manipulation.
Through manipulation of men.
They already do that.
Not,
Some women, not all.
Thank you. Not all
Some
of
women,
us.
not all. I wanted to clarify.
And some of us like to stand on our own forum, on our own 2 feet, and not even be recognized for that. Just know
Is it wrong?
is.
Is it wrong for a woman to need a man?
Absolutely not. I have a wonderful husband, and I need
Is it wrong
him.
for men to need women?
Not at all.
Okay, then I'm confused, Lita. What's the problem here?
Not confusing at all. We obviously need each other, but it's also you need to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, whether you're a
What
man
does that
or a
mean?
woman.
What does that mean?
That means, for example, we were having
Because
a
when you walked in
discussion-
here, you were on your own 2 feet. Nobody carried you.
Okay, but that means if I'm going to take on, let's see, how can I describe this? If I want to go on an adventure of a sort, I don't need a man taking me out, say it was to the woods, for example. If I want to go out to the woods and drive a vehicle out into the wilderness and be, I won't say irresponsible, but since this is a true story, you go out into the wilderness looking for a fishing hole, you manage to get 2 flat tires, you have no man with you to help you. I'm hoping that women will be able to, on their own, be able to find their solution and not have to have a man.
Okay, so I don't even know where to start here. Okay, so we're talking about going to a fishing hole and whether or not you should bring a guy.
Right.
Well, isn't that dependent on where the fishing hole's at and what's involved there? I mean, it's no different to me than for a guy to go hunting by himself. Typically, hunters know, and this is just common sense stuff here. Okay, common sense stuff. This has got nothing to do with gender. This is just about, you know what? Use your frickin' brain. All right. There are guys that go out and they'll go hunting by themselves. And if you talk to anybody, any forest ranger, other hunters, everybody, and these are all males, they're all going to say the same thing. Not a good idea. Typically not a good idea to go exploring in the woods and the mountains and the hills by yourself, whether you got the gear or not, whether you're Johnny Joe survivalist or not. It's typically not a good idea. They tell you that if you're going to go to an area to hunt, that you should tell somebody in advance the exact location of where you're going or the approximate location. This is where I'm going. So if something happens to you when you're out, you fall, you break your leg, whatever, people have a way and a means to send out search parties to come find you. But regardless of that, Everybody knows it's a dangerous thing. You don't go hunting by yourself. You're carrying a firearm through the woods, looking for creatures. Things can go wrong. Okay, that's just common sense. That doesn't mean that people don't do what they do, and sometimes they get in trouble and they get lost. So what is so bad about telling a female, hey, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, it may not be such a great idea for you to go trooping up in the woods by yourself and think everything's going to be just chipper and fine. What's so bad about saying that?
Because it shows a lack of faith, and frankly, it can hurt a woman's feelings. It's saying, whether it's a man or a woman telling her that, she likes to think she is reliable. And I am using the feelings word, Jacob.
Does that mean they're not going to cook dinner when they get home?
That, no, because that's a whole other issue with me too. That's called cutting off your nose to spite your face. But
if a man steps in,
to,
Lita, if you're married,
yes,
okay, you're married.
45 years.
45 years. You're married. You go to your guy. You say, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna drive up into the hills, and I'm gonna go up, and I'm going fishing, like you said you want to go fishing, and I'm gonna take you got a Jeep, right?
Yep.
I'm gonna take my Jeep, and do you have a dog?
No.
Okay, well, you don't even have a dog. Okay. You can't even send Lassie to help you or save you.
I had a woman friend with me.
Okay, you had a woman from me. Okay, so you got
There's two women.
You got two split tails heading up the mountain. Threw that in there for you.
Jacob.
and they're going fishing. And what would you say if your guy said, "Hey, I don't think that's a good idea"?
He did say that.
Not because he didn't think you were incapable, Lita, but because he's concerned about your safety, and he's like, you know what, that may not be a good idea.
He said that very thing.
You said, "I'm a woman, hear me roar, I go."
I didn't say it in those words.
Your microwaves or your food's in the microwave.
I believe we actually had a discussion. I hope it was somewhat intelligent. I said, "Why do you feel that way? What's the difference if you're there or if I'm there? If we break down, we break down." And he really didn't. I think he was a little not happy with me, and so I went my way, of course, because he knows he can't stop me. Unless he physically tried to restrain me.
So physically, are women different than men?
Of course. Of course.
Why?
Obviously, we're not, for the most part, most of us are not as strong as men.
Some women are, some are tough.
That's why I said most of us. I didn't say all of us.
Some are really burly.
Burly?
Burly, got muscles.
Women think differently.
Have you seen my girlfriend? She's buff.
I've seen your girlfriend, and okay. That's what you want to call buff. I'm not going to go there, Jacob. No.
Okay, but physically, they're different.
Absolutely, but they think differently as well.
Sure they do.
Which
is why women will head up the mountain totally unprepared and not think anything of it.
Wrong, because now here's where we get to the smut, Martha.
The smut? Is my name Martha?
It is it right now.
Well, don't you think it's awfully,
let's
sexist to call me Martha? Why aren't I called James?
Because I like James.
James is can I say bitch?
You said James.
James is that too.
Do not detract me. He's trying to detract me, and it will
go
not
for
work.
it. Finish your sentence.
Now, let's just say if I were to go with my husband, he would have the attitude, well, we're going out for a day ride. We'll be back before dark. Let's just, throw in a couple water bottles, and we'll be back, blah, blah, blah. Well, when I go prepared with food, water, blankets, and anything in the event of an emergency. Let's say I have my own self-defense system. Never go anywhere without that into the woods. I'm not stupid.
Firearm or mace?
Both.
Excellent. Well done.
Thank you.
And you vote Democrat.
And I am a Democrat, yes. That's another topic.
Right to bear arms. Well, let's finish this one.
Okay, well, and to make a long story short, the worst did happen. I ended up with 2 flat tires, which one spare would not cover that. No, I had my cell phone, but no
service.
No service. And ended up actually walking the 2 miles to the nearest home to get help. Called my husband, who, instead of coming to rescue me, said, "Just call Les Schwab in Oak Ridge," which I did. And 2 hours later and $178 later, I was on my merry way. Story finished, and I was warm, safe.
So you called your man for help.
Yeah.
when you were broke down up in the woods,
Yes.
and his response was, call
No,
Les Schwab.
He said, "There's really nothing I could do other than call Les Schwab, and you're right there. So why don't?"
What do you think
do
about
it?"
that?
He was logical. He made sense, and I was in no danger.
It didn't bother you at all?
A little bit,
Did it?
But you have to
Why? Why?
because he is supposed to be my protector. Oh, he's grinning at me now. He thinks he's got me.
Supposed to be your protector. Why's that, Lita? You're a female, and you can do whatever you want, and you're fine. You're golden. You're gonna go trekking off in the woods,
Very true.
despite your husband saying, "Yeah, I don't think that's a great idea."
It goes back to values and upbringing, I suppose.
Do you think maybe, just maybe, his response to you is based on past experience with you?
No.
You don't
No,
think so?
I used to be, as I've gotten older, I've become quite a bit bolder. I'm not nearly as timid. There was a day I would never have done this, but
You would have never been on this show?
I would never have been on this show either,
Why?
that's for sure. Even now, I'm not sure I should be on this show.
Come on. You're doing fine.
I'm having fun, folks. No. And so what did I learn from that? Probably to be more careful where I drive. I never saw this coming. I have no idea how my tires, they were slit, as a matter of fact. I have no idea what happened. But
So see, this is the thing. I mean, for me, I agree with you. I think a man's responsibility is to provide and protect. Okay? I honestly do. I think that is their job.
Okay.
They're supposed to provide and protect. But at some point in time, for me personally, if what I'm trying to do in an effort to provide and protect isn't recognized, it isn't appreciated, it isn't acknowledged, or it's dismissed, I'm simply going to back away and say, hey, do whatever you want. If stuff hits the fan when you call, I'm going to go, call Les Schwab. You know what I mean?
I do.
I mean,
I take that very serious. And
it's kind of like chivalry. You
is.
hear women nowadays go on and on about, well, chivalry's dead, and I want a guy who's chivalrous or whatever. You know what? If you're going to sit there and argue with the guy over who opens the door, then you don't deserve to have your door opened.
And that's I actually, Jacob can see my face. I really have to say I agree with that 100%. I do like the idea of chivalry, and and the door opening is a good example of where I'm coming from.
It's not a
in my
sexist thing.
views.
It's
No,
done out
it's
of
not.
respect.
It's done because
It's done out of taking care of that person, showing them that you care. And if women out there don't recognize that and allow their men to do that, to do those sorts of things, then they shoot themselves in the foot.
But at the same time, when I'm at a store and I'm to the door first, I will always open the door for a man. I think it's reciprocal. It goes both ways, and it has nothing to do with sex. I've never had a man not open a door for me.
But we're talking about your man.
Oh, so about my man. So in fairness to him, now I have to tell another real quick story. Skied at Mount Bachelor just a few years ago. A snowboarder ran over me. I'm kind of a intermediate skier, and this guy was whoosh down the slope, and he ran over the back of my ski tips and knocked me down. And my husband was behind me, and he saw the whole event. And instead of picking me up, helping me get up, which at first I was like a little miffed, I know that he went down that hill and he found that guy down in the lift line, followed him, and all I know is when I could look down there, I saw his ski pole up in the air, the guy kind of backing away, and when I got down to the lift line, I said, "What happened?" He said, "I don't think that guy will ever do that again." So
Oh, so you liked that?
and I did.
You did like that?
Yes, I did like that.
See, you know what? See, I'm calling BS. I think this is bunk. This is
It's
bunk.
not
You
bunk.
came on saying, one thing, and now you're saying, you did like that.
course.
Why? Let me ask you this, okay? If you honestly believe what you believe, Lita, then your husband, A, should not have picked you up, and B, should have let you go kick that guy's butt out on your own.
I didn't say that. I'm not saying that at all. I like the attention, but I feel like I should
You
be
liked your
able
man
to,
being a man.
I like my man being a man, but I also believe that women should be afforded I don't want to say the word rights, women just should, period.
They've already got him.
Right, and it should never be talked about as rights.
They've already got the power.
Exactly. Men have rights, women have rights, but you never hear about
Men
men's
work.
rights.
Men work for women.
No,
Yes, they do.
I don't agree.
It's exactly. They
I
absolutely
don't agree.
do.
I don't agree. I'm old-fashioned enough, as Jacob will say. I like men and women's specific roles to a point, but it does not mean that men should not be able to take care of the home as well as I should be able to work on the car. That's all I'm saying.
You know
I want
what?
the
This is
choice.
just a hunch. This is just a hunch, but I'm going to guess. I'm going to make an assumption that your husband does better mechanic work than you do.
He does, but
And I'm going to make an assumption that you take care of the home better than your husband does.
no. You would be wrong. You'd be right on the first count, wrong on the second count.
Okay.
Although I'm the only one who does take care of the home for the most part. My turn. My
you
turn.
just
But
said
no, my
you
turn.
said no, and then you just got through saying, and then you just said that you take care of the home for the most part. Why is that?
Because I care about it more. That's all.
There you go.
And I am a slob. When I say I take care of it, doesn't mean it gets well taken care
I'm
of.
a slob too.
Well,
But there are some things that women do better than men, and there's some things that men do better
that's
than women.
because women just have a different structured brain.
They look at things, and there are things that are that attracts them and appeals to them and interests them more.
That's true.
Than men.
That is
And
exactly
because of
true.
that, they're willing to take the time, effort, and energy to be good at it and be well at it and become a master of it. And men are never going to do that
And
because they
Viva-
have other things that are that they find interesting and attracted to.
Viva la différence on that, I say.
Okay, well,
But
I
go
don't
back-
see
we're gonna
anything
go back to
wrong
the
with
car.
that.
Go
I don't
back
see
to
anything.
car
I don't think.
maintenance.
I'm not saying that women can't do car maintenance. I'm not saying they can't become mechanics. I'm talking
Okay.
general terms here, Lita. I'm throwing out generalities.
Well, you assumed that I don't do maintenance on the car.
I threw out an
that
assumption.
wasn't a generality.
I threw out an
that
assumption.
was personal.
It could absolutely be wrong.
It
My-
is wrong.
Okay, you do maintenance on the car.
I
Have you
do.
rebuilt an engine?
Yes.
You actually have? Wow, kudos to you. Hats off. That sucks. I've done that before too. It sucks.
I'm the one who gets out the manual.
Why did you do that? To
Because it
prove
needed
something
to
to
be
yourself,
done.
or?
Well, I didn't rebuild it totally myself. I will never be dishonest. But I am right there actually with him. I can name off the tools when I feel like I am a surgeon's assistant.
So what is your point in all this? Seriously, I mean, why are you so concerned? If you've been married, what'd you say, 47 years?
45.
45 years. You've been married 45 years. You and your husband have a good working relationship. Why are you? Do you see other women being treated poorly?
Yes, and
is
that's
that
what
the
it's about.
issue?
Exactly.
Because
It's
you
not-
obviously don't seem like you've been treated bad.
I'm not talking so much for myself, although I've had my issues, but that's exactly what I'm about. It's the other
But
women.
it's a big issue for you because you've seen other women.
Yes.
I want to see some examples. I want to hear some examples. What are these examples of other women being treated poorly?
I know of physical abuse that has happened with some of my friends. I'm not going to go into details there.
I don't need
I've seen
details,
that-
but you have physical abuse, that spousal abuse, that type of
that
thing,
type of
domestic
thing.
violence.
I see more. It's more mental and spiritual. I've seen husbands treat their wives like dogs.
But are you okay? Husbands treat their wives like dogs. We're talking about fictitious fantasy stuff here. Unless you don't live in the home, you don't know what takes place. You don't
True.
know the result of what led up to whatever took
True.
place. I mean, you really don't know what's gone on here. You're kind of taking the female side, because obviously the female side's upset and they come to you and they're crying and they're
Correct.
using you as a shoulder to cry on as a friend, and they're saying this is what's going on. But how do you take that side and not consider what's been happening on the other end?
I do consider what's happening on the other end.
But it's not valid in your
and
mind.
it depends on who it is. But there's many instances it happens in front of me. Is I guess what I'm trying to say. I've seen.
Oh,
and
you've
I've-
seen it happen in front of you.
I've seen the verbal abuse in front of me. Yes, I
Verbal
have.
abuse meaning
Meaning
I don't want you to go up on the mountain because it's dangerous
No.
and your car might break
no,
down.
No, and some of the words I can't use on this show, but we're talking.
Some of the words that I can't say on this show either, but I'd love to say,
I bet you would.
and I know you'd love to too.
I bet you would. And one of the female words that.
Hey,
women
some
hate
men
to
are
hear.
pricks. I'm not going to argue that
well,
at all.
If you're going to say it.
Well, I can say prick. I've said it before. Okay, so some guys
I'm
are
not going there.
some guys are pricks, but when I hear the term verbal abuse, I'm more interested in specifics because people tend to throw that off the cuff, and they you can tie that into almost anything.
You can, but it really is more prevalent than you think, and you're right. You can tie it in, but that doesn't mean it's any lesser valid. Even though it's just becoming more prevalent, you're hearing it more. Because
All right,
it's out.
we're going to finish up with that. We're going to come back to that in a minute, folks. We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Hey, Jack, you got a sec?
Yeah, sure, come on in.
Yeah, I was wondering if you... Jack, your hair's on fire.
Yeah, I know. I just need to finish this sales report, and then I'll probably, I don't know, let me lie down for a bit. But I'm sure it'll go away.
But the flames are getting bigger. Shouldn't I... Your hair, there's so much fire.
No, I'll be fine. What can I help you with? Oh, dear. Well, at least we know the sprinkler system works.
You wouldn't ignore this, so why ignore the signs of a stroke? If you or someone you know suddenly experiences numbness of the face, arm, or leg, or sudden trouble speaking, seeing, or walking, don't wait to get help. Call 911 right away, because time lost is brain lost. To find out more, visit www.strokeassociation.org or call 1-888-4STROKE. This message brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Yeah, that was good times. Good times. Now, lately, I gotta be honest, you've been ignoring me. Money's been slipping through your hands like a greased pig. Get it? Because I'm a... Anyway, I know how it is. Now that you get a real paycheck, it's nice to have stuff. You'll start saving money next year. Well, I hate to tell you, but good saving habits start now. Put just $20 in the bank a month. Make your own coffee at home instead of that latte every morning. Brown bag it to work instead of ordering in. Those changes alone could save you thousands of dollars a year. Come on, I'm your piggy bank. We can be together again, me and you. Anyway, if you don't want me to cry anymore, feed me. Go to feedthepig.org for more ideas on how to save. Feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the Oregon Society of CPAs, and the Ad Council.
We are 1320 AM Info Radio.
We are back talking to Lita Sellers. This is Jacob Larson with the Common Sense Show. Got some quick info for you. Eugene Christian School is having its 18th annual school auction on Friday. This week, November 16th, the doors open at 5 p.m. It's located at 2895 Chad Drive in Eugene, Oregon. All seating and dinners have been sold out, so this would be standing room only. But bring your family and friends to participate in a live auction and a silent auction. It's sure to be some good entertainment, and proceeds will go to support the school. The number to call into the show is 541-284-7953. If you have any questions or comments for myself or Lita, give us a call into the show. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Lita, you were telling me on the break something about money and women and how they have all of it and they spend it.
Okay, I'm going to speak up a little louder here, too, now, because I kind of feel like Jacob's not letting me say exactly what I'm trying to say.
Nice.
First of all, before I get onto the money issue, I want to make it more personal about me instead of some of my friends and other things I've heard when it comes back to women. I want to get back to women first and their so-called rights. I guess it goes back to me personally because my first realization that I was not treated like the boys were. I was 14 years old, and I was in San Francisco on vacation with my family and my 11-year-old brother and my dad and I. We went to ride the trolley cars in San Francisco, and there was other boys on it. I was the only girl on it, and there were a couple of adults. And as we were going down the hill, wind in our hair, the boys were all started to stand up and were going, wee, and have fun, waving and carrying on. And I, being a tomboy at that time, stood up and joined them. And the conductor immediately told me I had to sit down. And I looked at him, and my dad was, he was aghast. And he looked, and my dad's saying, he's just kidding. Go ahead, stand up. And the conductor said, no, sir, I'm sorry. Girls are not allowed to stand up on the trolley car. And I will never forget that happening to me. I think that probably set...
So that was a big deal.
That, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it was to me.
No. I'm serious. How old were you at the time?
I was 14.
Okay, so that is kind of a big deal. I mean, that was a...
And it was almost humiliating. I remember the feeling. It was embarrassing.
You felt embarrassed. Absolutely.
It was embarrassing. and I just didn't understand. I couldn't understand. My father was livid. We got off the trolley car at the very next stop.
And I agree. I think that's total crap.
So that is probably where I get my basis for my feelings about women. And then to continue then, and in today's day and age here now, I think we all know if we're watching the news that women are not being paid the same as men for the same jobs. I believe it's 77 or 78 cents to the dollar. And I know that Congress, the president well, actually, I don't know if it was the president. Lilly Ledbetter, the act came up, and Congress voted it down. The Republican Congress voted it down. I guess Congress is sending the message that women aren't as valuable. So those are more of the things where I get my my chutzpah from and my feelings, my views.
Okay, so just to back up a little bit here, you said that you weren't treated like the other boys.
Correct.
Do you feel that women should be treated like men?
I think it's a gray area. I don't think it's black and white.
I was gonna say full on your answer here because
I am being careful. I would have to say you would have to give me a specific. I can't think of any reason. I can't think of anything right off that a woman couldn't do. I need to think of something, and then I can give an answer.
Okay, we're in a domestic dispute.
Okay.
And male and female are arguing with each other. And at some point in time, if a guy is arguing with another guy, we know that typically if we're threatening each other enough and we go toe-to-toe, Thorne's sitting right here, he can vouch for me. You're with another guy, you're arguing, and you're face-to-face with him. You know at some point in time it could become physical. And you could end up punching each other. And at that point, it's a knockdown, drag-out brawl. And whoever wins, wins. And at that point, you got to do whatever you can to survive and live. Now, if it's a female, now just for the record, can you say that you agree with that, what I just said?
I agree with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just common knowledge amongst men. And we know get in an argument, at some point in time in the argument, it could turn into a physical altercation, and we're going to be fighting to survive, fighting to live. Now, with a female, there's a disconnect there. Because when you're in an argument with a female, the status quo in their brain is, well, he can't hit me. He can't hit me because you can't hit women. And so they will argue and argue and argue, and they will cross that line. So what I'm saying is to you, if you want women to be treated like men, do you think under those circumstances it's okay for a guy, if a woman starts hitting on a guy, for a guy to retaliate?
I don't think, no, it is not all right for anyone to hit on anyone.
There you go.
Period. And
there you go.
I
agree with that answer.
understand.
I agree with
Well,
that answer.
I just don't understand your original topic as to why it sounds like it's all right for a man to be hitting on another man. I mean, where does that come from? Is that testosterone? What I mean,
Well,
why?
and that's legitimate and an excellent counter, because the bottom line is that's my position too. It's like that's not behavior that's
Correct.
acceptable and okay. So
That's-
it's not okay for guys to do it. It's not okay to do it either.
It's not.
But
It's not okay for anybody.
okay, well, I agree with you there. What I'm saying is the status quo, or what people think, is that men fight because if they get in an argument, they're going to fight. But if women get in an argument with the men, well, then guys can't touch.
And you think women think like that?
I know a lot of women that do.
I'm being outnumbered here, but see, I don't.
Well, Theron's shaking his head too, because that's just typically how it is. I mean, Lita, that's
I
just
don't.
that's what society tells us. Women can yell, punch, do whatever they want. Guys just supposed to stand there and take it. And I'm
Well-
just saying, in a man's world, that never flies.
Then I would be embarrassed for my own sex on that one, because I don't know of any women, none that I know.
Okay,
That take
then
that
then
attitude.
we're in agreement there. Okay,
That-
let's get back. Let's get back to wage. You can't agree with me. Come on, you're not supposed to agree with me.
Wait a minute. Who says I'm agreeing with you? You're agreeing with me.
Well, I made the statement because I thought you were going to disagree.
How could I disagree with something I believe in?
Okay.
I mean, excuse me.
Right. This is embarrassing. I'm actually embarrassed right now.
Well, too bad. Bite me.
Okay, so let's talk about the wage. So
Wages,
you're
okay.
concerned about the women make less than men.
Correct. For the same kind of work.
For the same type of work. Specifics. What type of work are we talking about? You're talking about if a guy's hired to be a flagger and hold a sign,
Okay.
he gets a wage. If another woman comes in and holds a sign as a flagger, he gets a wage.
I'm talking probably more in the corporate world of. That's a whole other topic for me.
Okay, because
In
from
u-
my
in
understanding, McDonald's employees make McDonald's
True.
employee
Okay.
wages, whether they're
Okay.
male or female.
Fair enough.
So what specifically we're talking about
Which-
Do you have any personal experiences where you've made less than men, your counterparts,
No, I
that have
haven't
done the
myself.
same job?
But I know when my husband worked for the phone company, before they brought in affirmative action, we're talking way back in the 70s, those types of things were occurring. Of course, then the unions, that's part of where unions come in, and that
So affirmative action's good. Unions are good.
unions are good.
Unions are good
Yes.
because you worked for a union.
I have worked for a union, but because unions have everybody's welfare at heart. I'm not talking about
Unions have unions' welfare at heart.
no,
Let's be honest.
Wrong. No, wrong.
You realize unions wouldn't exist unless you paid dues.
No, I don't agree with that.
They take
I-
your they
I-
take
I
your wage.
understand that. That
They
doesn't
take your
mean-
wage.
No, that does not mean that's how they exist. Unions are formed by people getting together because everybody should know that when you are as a unit than you are as an individual. That's how this country was built. Not people working alone, people coming together for the common good.
People coming together for the common good. This country was built. Was this country not built on people that had dreams,
Of
had
course
goals,
they had
things they
dreams.
wanted to accomplish?
And these people,
Entrepreneurs, creators,
of course they did.
movers and shakers.
As in any type of group of people, there will always be leaders that rise to the top. You can take any
And
group
those
of
leaders in
people-
your mind are evil because they
No.
represent the 1%.
No.
What do you
but,
mean,
know,
no?
Let's define. Okay, now we're getting to it.
Let's define what?
Let's define the 1%.
Well, it's not me.
It's not. No.
And it's not you.
You're interrupting me.
Absolutely.
The 1%.
'Cause you're female.
The 1%. The 1%, Jacob. What the 99% objects to about the 1% is the fact that they are the ones with the money, and they're not, instead of being job creators like we expect, and that's what, no, stop, I'm talking.
I'm letting you talk.
I'm talking.
I'm
and
letting you
instead
talk.
of letting, he's trying to ruin my train of thought. Instead of trickling, this is where we get the trickle down economics from. Instead of creating the jobs like they're supposed to with all this profit,
Why are you waiting on them?
they are.
Why are you
you're
waiting on them?
interrupting me again.
Sorry. Continue. Continue.
The 1% who does not use their money to benefit the welfare by creating jobs, they're taking it and they're investing it to get greedier and greedier. Those are the 1% that we are talking about, not the people who are actually creating the jobs, paying decent wages. I mean,
Who are these people, these 1% that aren't doing anything in your mind?
Who are they?
Because this sounds like just
okay.
the 1%.
No, okay.
This is
well,
fictionist,
do we
fictional
dare
character.
mention Mitt Romney, who makes his money on other people's misfortune with Bain Capital? I mean, a venture capitalist. Come on.
Mitt Romney makes his money primarily through returns on investments.
Correct. That's
Some
what
of the
I mean.
same
That's
returns
my
on
point.
investments that Barack Obama.
Right. No.
Yeah,
we're
right.
not-
No, you just said right.
I did not.
You
no,
just said
I
right.
did- no.
You said
No,
right.
Not what I'm talking
Some of the
about
same
at all.
investments
Not what I'm
that Mitt
talking
Romney
about.
receives money from.
No.
So does Barack Obama.
But Barack
But-
Obama is
but-
not a businessman.
What are you, a motorboat?
Mitt Romney is a businessman who
What does
makes
that
his
have to
money.
do with the price of tea in China? They're both investing. They're both getting returns on their investment.
Because his investments are in the tea in China.
Their investments
I
are in
think
the
he did
tea
that
in
on purpose, folks, to see if I'd catch that.
I totally did. But the bottom line is Barack is too.
Barack has got other issues going for him,
How
on
make-
economic issues.
How does that make either one of them bad?
I didn't say they were bad. I might think one of them is.
You
but
just got through saying they're part of the 1%. They're not
I
contributing.
didn't say they were.
Oh, you said Romney
I
was.
said Romney was.
It's because you didn't bother to include your good old boy Obama.
Correct.
But he is included in that.
He does not. Come on.
It's the same. Listen, if you me Lita, okay, if you and me decided we were going to take $10,000 of our own money, you got 10 grand, I've got 10 grand, and we're going to invest in Thorin Enterprise, and you put 10 grand to Thorin and I give 10 grand to Thorin, and in 6 months to a year, Thorin gives us, I don't know, $150 on our investment, and we take that money, and we've got it, we've made money from it. We both invested in the same company, and we both have benefited from the same investment.
I don't disagree with that, but
Okay, well, that's what Romney has done, and that's what Barack has done.
No, it's gone beyond that.
How are
I'm
you-
not talking about $150. We're talking billions of dollars.
$150 is just an example.
I
Add a
know,
few
but
zeros to it.
That's still not the same.
How
and
does
you
that
know
make
it.
Romney? How does that make Romney such a bad guy, but Barack so great?
As far as financials?
Yeah, just
Barack's
because
a guy-
just because Romney's a businessman.
Jacob, I have investments as well.
Has
I'm
it
lucky enough.
has it
But-
ever occurred to you that maybe Barack's a businessman too?
Well, of course he's a businessman, but not on
And
the
his
scale.
business is politics,
His and
and he's selling,
okay. No,
and
this
he's
isn't
selling.
going to happen.
He's selling.
He's and all politicians sell.
He's making
no
money
doubt
off your
about it.
vote.
Of course.
Did that ever occur to you?
Of course, but
Barack Obama.
I think we need another show, folks, because I know.
I,
that
you know,
we're-
I,
now we're
I'd be
getting into
happy
it.
to have you back. I
Okay.
mean, we don't have a whole lot of
I know
time.
we
We're
don't
running
have
out of time, and
because
I'd be
I'm
happy to have you back. And-
Formulating my answers based on that because we can go into Obamacare, we can go into all those
and that's
things
fine. My
that-
point is, you're talking about this 1% and how they don't contribute. They don't provide jobs.
I didn't
and,
say-
and my thing is this, Lita.
That's
Let
not
me finish.
what
I'm
I
talking
said.
now. See, this is I get to talk now. Okay, ladies first. I gave you that. Now I get to talk now. You know, the 1%ers. Tip. I mean, you can look at the names. You know it. They not only provide jobs, but they give a lot back to their communities, and they are some of the biggest contributors and donators to nonprofit organizations and the like. So it's like, how much more do you want these? Why are we waiting as a nation, as individuals, for these 1%ers to do something? I don't know why we even care. What does that have to do with Lita Sellers doing something on her own, picking herself up bootstraps, starting a business on the side, creating your own money, and then looking at yourself in the mirror and deciding what you're going to do with that money? Why are you so dead set on worrying about somebody else and some other corporation and what they're going to do with their money? Why don't you create something that generates money that you can do something with it? Why aren't you encouraging people to do that, Lita?
That's an easy answer for me, Jacob, because I have my own values that I have to live by, and it really hurts me to know that these, and I defined the 1% I'm talking about. I'm not saying all 1% of the rich are evil and greedy. I'm talking about the ones who don't give back.
And those are who?
And those are, for example, Walmart. I know they give contributions.
Walmart?
Walmart.
Are you
is a
kidding
big
me?
one. I'm not kidding you.
You're going to sit there and say Walmart doesn't give enough back.
Correct.
The largest employer in the United States, ladies and gentlemen,
Correct.
the largest, absolute largest employer in the United States doesn't give enough back. Folks, if Walmart can't do enough to appease or satisfy Lita Sellers' opinion on giving something back, there isn't a corporation on the planet that can. It's not possible. Your level of expectation on what can be given back can't be done. Lita, how do you feel about that?
You know what? I think that's such bunk.
It came out of your mouth.
No, Walmart is about, I want to use the word evil. That's not really how I speak usually. When you look at Walmart is not responsible by itself, but it is one, as he says, the largest company in the United States.
They
who is
employ everybody.
Yes, and these people are living at the poverty level with the wages. No, not.
They've got
Excuse me,
bennies,
that's
too.
true. Some have bennies, some don't. And
Yeah.
and bennies. That's how you get your part-time jobs, folks. You work 2 part-time jobs.
Yeah.
That's so companies can avoid pay your bennies.
Well, that's all going to be taken care of with Obamacare, so we're good.
So let's wait and see when that's going to all kick in. That is
2013, right?
I believe it is.
Yeah,
The
I think it's 2013. That's when it starts, right?
Or 14.
Is it 14?
It might be 14.
I don't know.
But-
I know that
but-
companies left and right are dropping like flies,
but see,
firing
but
people because
I'm
of it.
sorry, Jacob, but that still doesn't fly with me because we shouldn't have to be even doing that. These
Okay, but
people-
once again, we're talking about a retail store, retail sales.
Right.
They're notoriously low in wage. It doesn't matter whether it's Walmart, Target, Shopko, JCPenney.
Exactly, that's
I mean,
correct.
it's just the way it is in that
Sears.
in that industry. But the point of the matter is, Walmart provides hundreds of thousands of jobs for people all across America, and what they do with their money, what they choose to do with it, it's not up to Walmart to decide. So how they live is not really Walmart's business.
It's absolutely immoral and unscrupulous, in my opinion, to have such wealth on one end and such low wages on the other. It is, and to take advantage of the people
Lita,
because
it's
they
not-
can't find.
listen-
I'm finishing
Okay.
because they cannot find a job anywhere else in this market. Hopefully, that is going to change. Walmart and the others are absolutely evil.
I can't believe that's even coming out of your mouth. Are we at the 10-minute mark yet? Right now. Okay, so
Am I done?
no, not quite yet. I got a quick thing we got to say, and we can talk a little bit more, but not much. Yes, Tarbosh segment of the show. Folks, the very presence of you demands success. You are unlike anything anyone has ever seen before. You are unique. The one thing needed, required for anything to be great. You ever realized that about yourself before? Have you given yourself the credit you deserve? You see, this isn't about ego or bragging. This is about confidence and recognizing inside yourself what you're capable of. Knowing that regardless of the circumstances or situations that you are presented with, that you will prevail. This type of die-hard thought process is required to be successful. You can't allow excuses and roadblocks to prevent you from achieving what you want to achieve. And I've seen people fall into that trap, that mentality time and time again. They do a job or they set out on a task and they meet opposition. They hear the naysayers go on and on about how difficult things are, or they listen to stories about how others have tried and failed, and they quit. They'll quit before they even... They'll buy into those people who are selling failure. They'll buy into those people who have failed in other things in life and simply assume because they failed that you will fail too. Years ago, when I was in my early 20s, I looked into becoming an insurance agent for the Mutual of Omaha. Naive as I was, I told some of my friends and family of my plans. My excitement was met with, "Oh, I don't know. You're a bit young to sell insurance. I'd never buy insurance from someone so young. Sales? You're going to do sales? Oh my God, that's so uncertain. Insurance sales is a tough business." Blah, blah, blah. I took the job anyway, and I discovered something. They were wrong. I discovered that my success was dependent on me. I ran more appointments than any other agent in the office. I made more calls. I stayed late. I outsold every other agent in my district as far as life insurance sales in the state of Oregon for that year, and I got myself a pretty little trophy to prove it. I carried that process with me when I owned the janitorial business, and I walked away from my job, or from jobs, and told clients to take a powder that other people were afraid to upset in fear that the financial loss would mean that my doors would close. I know now, as I knew then, that no one client, no one person decides when my door's closed but me. My success isn't dependent on them. I decide, not them. So you got this thing, you got this idea, this dream, this job, whatever. It doesn't matter what other people think about it. Your success isn't dependent on them. It's dependent on you. So regardless of what it is, you set out to do it, it will succeed because of you, in spite of other people who have failed. You are the key for anything you set your mind to be successful. And don't you ever forget it. And that is the Tarbosh segment of the show. Quick info, Salvation needs volunteers to help assemble Christmas food boxes on Wednesday and Thursday, December 12th and 13th. They will also need help with distribution on Wednesday and Thursday, December 19th and 20th, when the families come to pick them up. For more information and to volunteer, please call Olive and George Wild at 541-937-2644. Lita, you're pitching failure, my friend. That's what I'm saying.
Well, blow it out your nose is about the best thing I can say there. I don't think so. And
Who cares about Walmart? It's not dependent on them.
Well, I was going to move on from Walmart at this point in time. I think
Let's move on to .org.
Yes, we want to talk about MoveOn.org. It's a political organization. It's a democratic
Political hack organization?
No, it is actually nationwide. I don't remember exactly how many members are in it. They provide educational workshops for people across the nation. I know there have been
a lapdog for George Soros, let's be honest.
No.
Seriously, he is the primary donor to MoveOn.org. Don't sit there and tell me you don't know who George Soros is.
I do, actually. I was pulling your leg.
You better damn well be pulling my leg.
I am.
That is the multi-billionaire who funds MoveOn.org.
It actually, and Move On is a grassroots organization.
Grassroots my
that
butt. They're
came
funded by
from
George
Silicon
Soros.
Valley. Okay, well, at any rate, Move On is an organization.
They don't work for their money. They simply call up George. Hey, George, toss us another check.
Jacob.
Sorry,
Actually,
I'll let you finish.
I don't know how much time we have here.
We got 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes.
So I would like to just finish by saying, too, actually, to move on from Move On, that I think this is a time in our political future here that regardless of Jake's views or my views, that we pull together, people, please. This is our chance, whether you like Obama or not. He is the president of the United States now, and we need to find some common ground.
That's right. Pull
Please.
together. Quit waiting for everybody else to do something for
Fair.
you.
F-
Quit
fine.
waiting for the government. Quit waiting for the one percenters.
Work with the
Quit waiting for
government. No.
Walmart.
Work with. There's nothing wrong with
Start
government.
something on your own. Start
Nothing-
managing your finances.
no-
Create a job on your own.
Nothing wrong with government. And all of that is true, but you need more. We need to be together. I don't understand this. Of course you do it on your own, but then you come together.
Not according to Obama, the president elected, and none of the businesses that existed that happened on their own.
What?
you just agreed with me and said it all supposed to be on your own, but the president you elected is totally counter to that. He says they didn't do any of it.
That is not what he meant, and everybody knows that was hacked around the sites. And you're making me laugh now at this.
You're supposed to laugh.
Jeez, God.
I want you to laugh.
He
That's
wants me to
funny
laugh.
stuff. I mean,
I'm
I
trying
find
to
that
take this
hilarious.
serious.
Why would Obama make a statement like that? It's the most hilarious
You're
thing on the
doing
planet.
totally what he meant.
Okay, what did he mean?
He is saying that none of us, right here, this radio station, this is your show, Jake. You are quite the entrepreneur here. You're doing just fine.
I'm
except
entrepreneur?
You can't do this, entrepreneur, excuse me. You can't do this show with nice fellows sitting right here pushing the buttons. Excuse me.
What are you talking about? There's
timing it.
YouTube.
You can't do this show.
I don't
without-
need Theron.
You can't do this show without me sitting here, or else you're on
Actually,
on
I
monologue.
did. It sucked. I've done that before. It's not fun.
Well, see. So don't tell me.
I
That's
admit
what
to-
the
I admit to
president
needing you.
meant.
Huh?
That is exactly what the president meant. Of course.
Well, he sure
we-
came across awfully wrong.
No.
He offended a lot of
That's
people,
because
Lita.
you're prejudiced.
He offended a lot of people. Whoa, I'm
Who?
prejudiced. Of what?
Who did he offend?
Business owners.
Well, maybe they're wrong.
Maybe the president's wrong.
That's debatable.
Maybe you don't take somebody who funds 3/4 of the populace and tell them that they didn't do it on their own or they didn't create it. Maybe that's offensive to people, the very people that produce and create, and you shouldn't speak to them that way. Maybe he should show appreciation for the businesses that help him.
He shows plenty of appreciation, and you know
Maybe
that.
he should
and
show
I
some
know
appreciation for the businesses that create jobs
that. And by
And
that,
fund
what do you-
retirement
what-
plans.
What do you mean?
and fund retirement
So do you want
plans.
a speech? What is it you want exactly for him to do?
Maybe he should apologize. I think he should apologize to the businesses of the nation in the same way people wanted Bush to apologize for invading Iraq.
And he has nothing to apologize for. And then
But I think he does.
Then should he apologize for calling the 47% parasites?
No, he was right.
Was he?
Yeah.
Well, see how the election turned out. Who thinks
What's
he was,
that, what's
who
that-
thinks he was right?
exactly? We see exactly how the election turned out, and that is exactly why it turned out like it did. Because you have parasites attaching
I knew
themselves
you
to a
would take
host
that.
are
Sure.
that are sucking the
Sure.
lifeblood out of
Sure.
that host.
That must be why there are so many of them on the street corners these days, due to mental illness. Some of them. Some of
of them,
lazy.
absolutely. Mental illness is a big issue.
That should be another issue.
How many? We got 30 seconds. Minute 15. Let me say something real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you've heard today, please sponsor the show. Go to www.buycommonsense.com. Click on the link to the show. Check out the sponsor section of the site. And I'll let Lita take the last of it.
Well, it's been an interesting experience being here. I have so much more to say.
You want to be back?
I'd love to be back.
Okay.
I would love to be back. I'd like to have more input on the topic. Although I will say, in fairness, I've been given a latitude to say what I wanted to say. So much more to say.
So I'm not the bad guy you thought I was.
Yeah, I'll leave it with this. There was a program on the Twilight Zone, or one of those programs, a long time ago. And it was called The Devil's Advocate, Tales from the Far Side. That's what, or from the Dark Side. That was it.
And
Jacob
that's
liked
it.
That.
Tune into us next week, folks. Love to hear you. Bye.
A Cumulus station.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. President Obama says as far as he knows, national security has not been jeopardized by the scandal that led to the downfall of now former CIA Director David Petraeus.
I have no evidence at this point